Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Narco Cop MMA. This is Lambo Plays Podcast, episode number 5. I got 3 special guests with me. First off, I got Sean Orr. Sean, what's up, man? How you doing? You're on mute, brother. You're on mute.
Great start. I'm excited to talk about the card. Doing well today. Hope everybody else is too.
Awesome. Nice having you on. Also, I got the GOAT, Tajik. Tajik, what's up, brother?
Not much, Mike. Thanks for having me again on the show. Great to be here, and great to have a superstar in attendance as well.
All right, nice having you. And then the final guy, my special guest, Jordan Young from PFL. He just had a great third-round knockout against a former UFC fighter. So, first off, I just want to thank you, Jordan, for being here with us. Tell him what anything you want, brother.
I appreciate you guys having me on, man. I'm looking forward to talking the fights. This is my first time getting to get on and discuss the fights a little bit. I love to bet on the fights. This is what I do every weekend. So,
man, you're in the perfect place, bro.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, we got a long card, so you know what? Let's just start off. There's 4 of us. First fight of the night, CJ Vergara, 9-2-1, going up against Ode Osbourne, 9-4. We'll kick it off to Sean first. What's up, Sean? Tell us something about this fight.
Yeah, so I think the obvious Lambo play, and the line might be gone. I don't have access to this book, but if you have FanDuel or DraftKings or one of those where it's just a really soft book, the obvious play here is going to be Ode KO1, simply because Vergara, he gets hit quite a bit. He's been dropped in a few of his fights. Ode is going to be long, athletic, a pretty powerful guy. Down the stretch, you could always look at playing Vergara 2-3 because in any way this fight is probably going to end. So being a conservative bettor, of course, you're going to bet just the under. But since we're trying to win some Lambos, go for those props.
Awesome. Great take. The GOAT. Tell us, you always have something crazy, Tajik. Tell us something crazy in this fight.
No, nothing crazy this time. I think CJ Vergara knocks him out. He's gonna put him away. There's so much volatility in this fight, and CJ missed weight by a couple of pounds, which adds even more volatility now. So it's gonna be a crazy fight. I think Ode is gonna have his chances. I think he can rock and maybe wobble CJ, but CJ has a great ability to recover, and his chin is solid. He can get dropped, but he can recover very quick. And I think that might just happen. And the bet I have here, which is a Lambo bet, CJ Vergara by TKO at plus 300 or plus 320 actually right now on FanDuel.
Yeah, I'm not going to be very exciting because I had exactly what Sean had. I had the round 1 KO from Osbourne. Osbourne's a huge 25er, man. I mean, the guy, you look at him, he's huge. And I was expecting him maybe to miss weight, not Vergara, and Vergara missed weight here. So, but, Vergara, the problem is, yes, I do agree with Tajik, he recovers. But, going back and watching that one Silva fight, Silva just rocked him really, really bad in that first round, had him on skates for a long time. And I think if Osbourne has him on skates, he's going to put him out because I think Osbourne has a lot more power. He's the longer guy, but like Sean said, if you want a safe play, I think the under is pretty much gonna hit here just because of how Vergara fights, man. The guy is kill or be killed. That's how he fights. He's a madman, and he comes out and he leaves himself there to be hit. And the other thing we know with Osbourne is he gets stopped a good amount of times, and also going down to 125, that might hurt that chin a little because the guy is a big dude for 125, and cutting all that weight, that might not be very good for his chin. Jordan, do you have anything on these 2 guys, or are you familiar with them?
I don't know too much about CJ. I already threw Osbourne on a parlay, but listening to what you guys are saying, I thought Osbourne looked good in his last fight against Manel Cape, however you pronounce his last name, even though he got finished. And that goes with what you were saying. He does get finished a little bit, so I'm a little bit nervous for that now.
Yeah, actually, I'm right there with you. I actually did like how he looked early, and I think he was winning that round early on until he got caught, right? So, it was a head kick. He gets caught with it. It is what it is. But I think he was looking decent in that first round.
Yeah, I agree.
But moving on, fight number 2, Baghdasaryan, 6-1, going up against late-minute replacement Bruno Souza, 10-1. Tajik, you can kick this one off.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a background noise coming in.
I think it's yeah,
okay.
we're good.
I think we're good now. So I covered this fight previously as well, but I think Melsik is great. He's a great Muay Thai practitioner. He started doing martial arts at a very early age of 5 or 6. He's great, but at the same time he's also one-dimensional, and so his best chance resides in the TKO in the first round, and then in the second and third round he looks human. So, for his opponents, for Bruno, I think, his elusive style, the karate stance can make it difficult for Melsik. But Melsik is going to take his chances in the first. And I think he has a chance to maybe knock down Bruno. But I think in the second round and third round, Melsik looks human. So, I'm going to go ahead and predict this fight to end in a majority draw, and that's why my Lambo bet here is going to be fight ends in a draw, available at plus 8,000 on the offshore bets, and I think onshore in US the bets are plus 5,000. So that's my official pick, and that's my Lambo bet for you guys.
See, that's more like Tajik plays, plus 8,000, guys. That is pretty insane. For me, I'm going to go a little lighter than that. I'm going to say something like, I know a lot of people are high on this Baghdasaryan guy, and he has great striking. But to me, his cardio still sucks, man. And I don't like, even though he got the knockout last fight, for the first, 2 minutes of that second round, he absolutely didn't do anything until he landed the head kick. So I know this guy tires. We saw it on the Contender Series. Even though he pushed through, he was death-gassed in that fight. But what I will say is he's a great striker. He has a lot of power. And Souza's just not the guy for me, dude. The guy is just not high volume. He's not a great striker. He's like a karate champion. But, the one thing I will say is kind of has that distance fighting, but he leaves his hands down. And leaving your hands down against a guy like Baghdasaryan is bad news, man. So I took, for my Lambo play, I got Baghdasaryan, round 1 KO, plus 360. Sean, what do you got there?
Yeah, so I see.
Jordan, can you please? Sorry.
I see a lot of what you guys are saying. I'm a little more inclined by the Souza side, to be honest with you, because I think he has really good lateral movement, and I think he has a tendency to keep fights really close. I also think that Baghdasaryan, I don't think he is the goods like you're saying, because he's not only one-dimensional, but he's very much like pure hammer the whole time. And when he's not the hammer, he's pretty defensively void, to be honest with you. And he's the type of fighter that is really susceptible to have points landed on him. If we know anything about the judges, they do have kind of a hard-on for karate guys. Machida and Thompson have had pretty successful careers. So I'm actually going to predict that Souza wins by a split decision. You can get that at plus 1,400, and you could also just get his decision line at plus 500. I just think that 6-7 fights for Baghdasaryan, it's not a lot of experience. And I do think that Souza, despite his hands being down, he's really good at evading and keeping range. The only time he's really in danger is when he's attacking. And Baghdasaryan is not really that proficient of a counter striker. He's more of the kind of guy where he's just going to blitz you and attack you. So I do think that there are moments for Souza to make this fight close. So let's win that Lambo.
Awesome. I don't mind that play whatsoever. Souza has fought a good amount of opposition outside the UFC. That Kamala Kirk, who's currently in the UFC. Miles John's brother, Elijah Johns. Javier Garcia, which I think is a decent fighter in the LFA. So he's fought good opposition. He gets those wins somehow, like you said. So Baghdasaryan, the later this fight goes, the worse it is for him. Because we know Souza doesn't put the highest pace, but the guy's been 5 rounds, right? And Baghdasaryan, he tires, and he tires really, really bad. And, What do you have here, Jordan? Do you have anything, or do you know these guys at all?
This was the last fight that I wasn't really too familiar with. I was reading a little bit about these guys, and I read a little bit about a cardio issue for Baghdasaryan, or however you pronounce the last name. And, I also was leaning a little bit in the direction of Souza a little bit. I think that karate style, it can kill a little bit of time, you know what I mean, and the distance that they cover. So I'm not quite too confident with it, but that's the direction I was leaning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it, honestly. I'm a lot of people are so high on this guy Malsic, but I mean, you can't just get away with just striking in the UFC.
He's fun. He's a fun guy, right?
That's fine. Yeah. He definitely is fun, and he's definitely powerful, and he's going to give you knockouts. But those intangibles that I don't like to see in fighters, where he gasses very, very bad if he doesn't get you out of there, is really bad, especially when you move up to face fighters in the UFC. Yeah, with that being said, we will move on. Fight number 3. We have Dustin Jacoby, 15-5-1, going up against John Allen. Dustin Jacoby is a late notice replacement. You know what? I will kick this one off to Jordan Young. These guys are 205ers. Maybe you're familiar with these guys.
Yeah, I like Dustin Jacoby here. I think he's been doing great. I think that he's in a good flow with this gym at Factory X, and I'm really confident in that pick right there. I think that his opponent is a little bit too not technical enough on the feet. You know what I mean? He has some finishes, but I don't think that he has his game plan put together quite like Dustin Jacoby does.
Awesome, great breakdown. I agree with a lot of what you said. Tajik, what kind of crazy stuff do you got here?
Nothing crazy. I actually like Jacoby just to take it to a decision. I hope he does that because he's taking this fight on a short notice. I hope he doesn't go for for a stoppage early because Allan is very durable, and so he should be careful. He should treat lightly. He can pick him apart all 3 rounds. Allan is very low volume, so there's not going to be a problem. So on the ground, he has nothing to offer for Jacoby, and Jacoby has actually good takedown defense. So Dustin Jacoby by decision. It is available on BetMGM at plus 250. So it's not a Lambo, but it could probably get you like a G class, maybe like Vorrent or something like this.
Again, I'm going to be boring. I have the same exact thing. I have Jacoby by decision. It's not a Lambo play. It's a Toyota Corolla play, but it's plus 240. The one thing with, Dustin Jacoby is a big dude at 205. He's very good striker. But, you go back and look, and the guy's been to decision a lot of times. It's not like he's getting everybody out of there. His last 6 fights, 4 of them have gone to decision. And the one thing we can say was John Allen, when it comes to durability, he has a pretty good chin. The times that he has been stopped, it's by submission, and we're not going to get a submission from Dustin Jacoby here. The one thing I will say is I'm a little worried that, it's a late replacement. He didn't have much of a camp maybe, but, he seemed to look good on the scales. He made weight with no problem. He might have been training for something that we don't know of. So, he looked fine. I think he can, basically outpoint this guy. And if Allen tries to get takedowns, it's not easy to take Jacoby down. And when you do, he has pretty good get up. So, Allen's not some superior like grappler or great grappler here. So I don't think it's going to be a problem for him. I agree with both of you, Jordan and Tajik. I think this is a fight for Jacoby to win. So you're turning a minus 400 that, that's what his odds are now. And I wouldn't want to lay that with a late replacement. So instead, that decision line, I think, looks really good at plus 240. Sean, any different take here?
Pretty similar take, but you can add about 25 cents more if you take him by unanimous decision. Jacoby, I mean, he's a G. The guy is going to be able to take care of Allen. Allen, very heavy on his lead foot. He doesn't really offer much in terms of offense. He's very low output. His best path here would probably be to try and clinch him against the cage and turn this into a disgusting, grindy fight. But I just think Jacoby is way too seasoned. I don't even think we've seen the best of Jacoby yet. So I think in this spot, he's going to easily be able to land those leg kicks, hurt Allen throughout the fight, and not really even have to worry about a grappling threat. So might as well just bank on Jacoby winning the first 2 rounds at a high clip and just take the extra 25 cents for a unanimous decision and buy a Corolla S-Class instead.
Awesome. So we're all in agreement here. We all like Jacoby. We will move on to the next fight. Fight number 4. It's the best fight of the night. It's Gian Villante, his retirement fight, going up against Chris Barnett. I'll kick this one off. I don't like either side. Gian Villante looked really bad on the scales, man. Like, I don't think this dude trained for this fight. I mean, he looked very, very bad on the scales. The one thing with Barnett, he throws hard. He has a good chin, and he's very athletic. For, looking at this guy, you wouldn't think he's as athletic as he is, but he's pretty athletic in there. And I think it's going to be a close fight. I can't favor either one of these guys. So what I did take is either fighter to win by split or majority decision plus 550. Sean, what do you got?
A very similar sentiment. I mean, Gian Villante, he said he's retiring. He showed up morbidly obese. I got fooled by his IG. I thought because he was training with Gregor and Harrison, I thought he was taking this seriously, but it doesn't look like he is. Fortunately for him, he's fighting a guy who has absolutely no relevant UFC experience. So Gian should, in theory, have a technical edge, but he's also the type of guy who blocks a lot of punches with his face. He gets really tired. And like you said, Barnett has that really sneaky, fast power. I mean, he was landing on Rothwell, so you got to give him some credit. The guy's literally 5'7". He's very short. And I think split decision is probably the best way to go. But I don't want my money on this fight at all. Keep it off.
I don't blame you whatsoever. I don't have any money on this fight. Let's see if Jordan Young has anything on this fight.
No, I wanted to stay away from this fight. I didn't like that, I don't like the shape of either guy. I saw Barnett compete in a jiu-jitsu tournament live one time, and it seemed like he was more worried with like the theatrics of like the flips and doing this fancy stuff than kind of like the actual match. I know that was jiu-jitsu and not MMA, but I don't think that either one of these guys are taking it serious enough to put money on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He kind of plays around in the ring a lot too. Like, he likes to joke around and he's laughing, but the guy's getting hit on the face and the guy's sitting there laughing. But I can't take any of these guys serious, like you said. I really can't. Tajik, what do you have here?
Yeah, I think to Jordan's points, these theatrics, he shows them, even in MMA matches as well. He will show, unorthodox spin kicks and stuff like that, and do like a crazy, like hip hop, like a helicopter and stuff. So it's very tough to I don't think his goal is to win a fight. Like, he doesn't have this mentality of a fighter to win the fight. He's more there to bring the show to the fans, which is understandable, but it makes him hardly bettable. And he's there for round and a half the most. And then for Villante, it's absolutely perfect, opportunity to keep the fight low volume and just pick him apart. So I would say it's probably, I ended up picking Villante, and the bet that I have is Villante wins by decision. And so by decision is currently available at, you can get the most at plus 240, which is not bad. So I think he cruises, and not cruises, but I think he takes this one by decision.
Yeah, interesting take. But for the most part, we're staying away from a side perspective. Fight number 5, Jordan Williams, 9-5, going up against the 7-0 newcomer, Iaquinta-Green. I will kick this one off to Sean. What do you got here, Sean?
Yeah, so much like the guest of the hour right here, Iaquinta-Green has a very good front headlock series. So I'm thinking there's a possibility here where Iaquinta-Green either hurts Jordan or just decides to take him down and submits him. Ian has shown some pretty good technical proficiency in that position. So I think if you can get the line at plus 550, I saw it at plus 600. I do think it's worth some money on it. I did the same thing with Mason Jones last weekend or the weekend before by sub, and he had his moments. It was close. And I think that this is another spot where you've got a UK guy who people typically don't think of them as grapplers in a spot where they could really use their grappling to their advantage. So I might go actually kind of heavy on it. I have a little bit of money on it, and I'm hoping for a Lambo here.
Awesome. Jordan, do you know these guys, or you have anything on this fight?
Yeah, I appreciate that compliment on the front headlock series. Good catch. Yeah, no, I like the same pick. I'm not going with Jordan Williams. I wasn't impressed with him his last fight, and there seems to be a lot of hype behind this kid, and I think that he's going to come out and prove everybody right for this fight. I think it's a good matchup, honestly. I don't see anything in Jordan Williams that stands out. You know what I mean? He's not like proficient at anything that wows me.
Awesome. That is absolutely on point. Tajik, anything here for you?
Yeah, I think Iaquinta-Green by submission was an interesting play. It was available at plus 550, plus 500. I think some bookies still offer it. I think there is a good chance that he submits him. But he gave an interview recently. He spoke on BT Sports, and he spoke with Michael Bisping, and he says, "I want to knock him out." I don't. I hope he doesn't limit himself to just wanting to knock out Jordan and just takes the path of least resistance and just chokes him out. Take him down, pound him out, and then submit him, please. And because if he does, then plus 500 plays, and Will can enjoy a good Lambo play here. So, but yeah, it's interesting that he really wants to finish him by KO. But I like the pick Iaquinta-Green by submission, and it's anywhere between plus 500 to plus 550.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you guys. I talked about this earlier. Like, the grappling advantage here is massive, especially the submission grappling. And the one thing I will say is I've liked Gary for a long time. I've watched him at Cage Warriors, and the last guy he fought, Jack Grant, is a very, very good grappler, very, very good at scrambling. And guess what? Gary was out scrambling that guy. He was out grappling him. And that is very, very impressive to me, because I don't think Jordan Williams has anything for him anywhere outside, the one-shot power. But again, I think another thing with Jordan Williams is him dropping to 170, being a type 1 diabetic. I don't know what it did to his chin, but, Mickey Gall hurt him really, really bad. And Mickey Gall is not really known for his hands. So, I just like Iaquinta-Green everywhere. I think he's the much better guy, much better fighter. And, the guy's also at Sanford MMA now. So he's probably improving. He's at a better camp. I like the guy. I think he's a prospect. And like Jordan said, this guy is going to prove people right, because I really think he's that good. With that being said, let's move on. Fight number 6, Edmund Shahbazyan versus Nassourdine-Imavov. Jordan, do you want to kick this one off? You know these guys?
Yeah, I'm excited for this fight. Imavov, I betted against Imavov when he fought Phil Hawes, and he gave me a scare in the 3rd round. He was resilient, had me on the edge of my seat. And then I betted against him again with Ian Heinisch, and I was so impressed with him. And I think, then I started paying attention. I looked into him, and even in the fights he lost, you can see the improvements. He's getting better, and he's coming from that camp where Gon is from, right? The heavyweight interim champ. And yes, I think they have a good coach over there. I think that their system is kind of getting a little bit of momentum, almost like a city kickboxing. So I'm gonna go with Imavov, and I could see it being under 2.5. I think that was it, and not one. I think it's 2.5, but yeah, I can see it being a finish. I think both of those guys go hard.
Awesome. Like the take. Yeah, he's from over there, from MMA Factory Paris, I believe. Very good camp out there. Tajik?
So I think Vegas thinks that this fight is not going to go to a decision, and the odds are like minus 200. It doesn't go to a decision. I don't understand that. to be honest. I think they're both very durable standing, and it's not like they have this tremendous volume to just infinitely kick each other and punch each other and find the ending sequence. Um, so striking metrics, defensively and offensively are on the Imavov sides indeed, and I think he has a great control of an opponent. When he needs to. I mean, he controlled Heinisch. He put a body lock on him, and tried to maneuver him, which is great, especially against the uh, opponent in Heinisch, right? So, but having said that, I think Edman can make it close. I think he picks his spots very well, and he fires away. So he has a KO potential as well. But I think they will be respectful of each other's power and striking abilities. And I see this fight going into a decision. And so you can bet it on the decision on either side, which I think is fine. It's a very close fight. I personally prefer Edman. Shahbazyan at I think it was plus 380, and but Imavov at plus 370 is also viable play. So whichever way you go, it's on you. I would understand. My personal choice for a Lambo play here is going to be Edman by decision at plus 380.
So, I mean, I agree with some of the stuff you're saying. But I do like Imavov round 3 plus 1300. We've seen this guy's gas tank, Edmen Shahbazyan. It's just, I know he's been grappling a lot, in those fights, stuff like that, but this guy does not have a good gas tank. I can't be convinced that this guy has a good gas tank. And the other thing is, we've seen Imavov in a grueling fight versus Phil Hawes, where he hurt Phil Hawes in that third round really bad. He was also tired. I'm not going to say he has the best gas tank, but he definitely has the better gas tank between these two guys. I think he's the cleaner striker. He's the more, his kicks are really nice. I mean, the way he picked apart Ian Heinisch last fight, Ian Heinisch has 19 fights, never been KO'd. That's his first time being KO'd, and he looked really, really impressive. And like Jordan mentioned, I think he's really improving fight over fight. And, he's going up, and I think Edman's kind of going down. I know Edman has faced a better opposition, but, I still think his cardio is a big concern. He's looking for those big shots, and, he has power, but his power kind of goes away late. So for me, I like Imavov round 3. I'm going to take a shot. It's plus 1300. Yeah, that is it. Did I go to you already, Sean? Yeah. No?
No. So yeah, this fight's kind of interesting. It's probably the most competitive fight on the card, truthfully. And if you peel back the onion here, there's actually a lot of layers. For one, you've already mentioned that this is going to be a step down in competition for Shahbazyan. Lost my train of thought, but here's basically what I would say to this. I do think that Shahbazyan has lost a lot of his cardio in fights because of the grappling. Anybody who grapples knows that it sucks the wind out of you. So you got to give him a little bit of forgiveness there. I don't like the camp that he trains at. I've been pretty vocal about that over the years. I don't expect too much of improvement out of him because he's training at that camp. Imavov, he is at a camp that's surging, much like Jordan said. It's kind of like a city kickboxing right now, where they're kind of finding their own and really planting their roots in France. Imavov, he has a really bad tendency of not moving his head off the center line. So I can see Shahbazyan getting some success boxing early, but I just think the diversity of Imavov's game and just kind of his blood and guts of who he is and what he has shown so far, he's really had to deal with some adversity. He almost got Phil Hawes out of there in the third round. He's not going to really have to deal with that grappling problem. I'm just predicting that this is going to be a 3-round kickboxing match that's mostly tepid. It's mostly scoring points. It's mostly figuring out range. It's mostly respecting each other's power. And for that reason, I'm going to take Imavov here, and I'm going to take him by decision at plus 370. I think it's a relatively safe play, to be honest with you. Shahbazyan, like you said, is kind of on the decline. He's got to be not feeling very well mentally, and I don't think that his camp is going to be able to make the adjustments to have him succeed at this level. So, yeah, plus 370 is the Lambo.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree more. You are spot on there. So I guess we are all on basically the Imavov side. Fight number
Not
7.
Tajik.
Oh,
He's
Tajik not. Sorry.
he's
Yes,
on the Shahbazyan side.
Shahbazyan. Yes, yes. Sorry. Tajik is the
Yeah,
goat is on the opposite side.
we're on quite many occasions now on the opposite sides now, and it's a little bit scary for me, guys. Should be scary for you too, but
It's always scary when you go against the GOAT. Fight number 7, 11-2, Phil Hawes going up against the newcomer to the UFC, 26-8, Chris Curtis. Tajik, you want to kick this one off?
we try a fight that we're talking. Chris.
Phil Hawes and Chris Curtis.
Oh, Phil Hawes. I thought we were talking to Al Iaquinta already. So yeah, definitely. So interesting fight. I don't think Curtis is a bad. It's a bad opposition to Phil Hawes. Actually, Curtis fought very well in the PFL, and Jordan might know him from that. I think he was at a good, had a good career. He's 34 years of age now, and I think the pinnacle of his career was the time when he fought in PFL. He fought Magomed Karimov twice. Lost by decision, but I think he looked okay, and I think now, at 34 years of age, the clock is ticking, and I feel like he's not in the prime of his career, and so Phil Hawes it actually is. And so it's a bad matchup. And a lot of people spoke about why Hawes didn't take this fight when it was scheduled on short notice against Curtis. And I wanted to make a comment on that. He made weight, everything was good. I think he had his show money there. Why take the fight? Why take the risk? I think he was okay. I understand why he didn't take this fight. So now I think he's ready to fight against Curtis. So I think this one goes to a decision again. I think Hawes is going to put the pace on him, but Curtis is handwork is pretty good. His stand up is pretty good. He's not moving. He doesn't have this active leg movement as much as I wanted him to be. But I think he's going to do well for himself. It's just that Hawes is too strong of an opponent. The way he changes levels is actually very impressive. And then the way he goes for it, dives for the takedowns, I think is phenomenal. So I think he's growing. He has a potential, although I did not initially believe in him to have a potential. So I'm going to take here Hawes by decision. And I forgot what the odds were, but I think they were pretty good.
Plus 250.
Yeah, plus 250. Yeah, I like Hawes here by decision.
Yeah. For me, I was impressed with Hawes last time because, he did, ragdoll Daukaus around. He showed decent cardio, good cardio compared to what we've seen, in previous fights from Hawes. He seems to kind of fight smarter is what I saw against Daukaus. In that fight against Imavov, he was like constantly trying to go for takedowns. He was like hellbent on getting takedowns, and he really, death gassed in that third and in that second round even. So, in that fight against Daukaus, he kind of fought a little smarter, a little better. But, for me, after just one fight, I still have questions about this guy's cardio. You go look before that Imavov fight, this guy's never been really out of the second round outside of that Andrew Sanchez, contender series, Ultimate Fighter fight. But, going back to Chris Curtis, I just wish this guy had more volume and kind of like he presses forward, he pressures guys, but he just doesn't throw enough. And I think you need that. If you're pressuring here, you're going to need volume. You want to get this guy tired. His takedown defense is okay. It's not great. So Hawes is going to be able to land takedowns here. The thing here is he needs to make Hawes work. He needs to stand up right away. He needs to make Hawes work. And I think if he does do that, I do think he has a chance to get Hawes out of there in the third round. Curtis, round 3, plus 2,600. 6 of his 26 wins have come in the third round or later. We have seen Hawes hurt in the third round really bad. I don't think it's a bad poke, honestly. If it gets to the third round and he does make him work, plus 2,600 is not bad because Chris Curtis does carry his power late. Sean, what do you have?
Yeah, so I think Hawes cardio issue is maybe a little bit it's unclear right now, because I do think that his cardio dump is a product of him panicking in fights, personally. I think that in the Dawkins fight, the nice improvement that we saw was that he got stung in round 2. He did not panic. And what he did was he leaned on attritional body work and just kept hitting Dawkins in that long body over and over and over. And he slowed Dawkins down to his level. So personally, for me here in this spot, I noticed that Curtis, when he gets pressed against the cage, he's a little bit like a second and a half to a second too late to dig his underhooks. And I think when you're going against a guy like Hawes, who has this elite wrestling pedigree, I think that spells disaster for him. Now, I'm hoping that Curtis has the durability and the toughness to withstand the ground and pound that he's going to face from Hawes, because Hawes has crazy athletic gifts. He's an incredible athlete, helped by a pharmacy of all doctors in Florida. So this guy is literally just phenomenal. So if Curtis can actually survive this, I do love the decision line for Hawes here. I got it at a lesser line because I don't have the books you guys have, so I got plus 220. And I also think if you want to be a little bit cheeky here, I would say look at the submission prop, because I don't think we've looked at the entirety of Hawes' game right now. And I do think that Curtis is going to be a little more of a fish out of water against Hawes on the back. I think there's a possibility that Hawes can catch an arm triangle. I'm not banking on it, but the odds were at like plus 1,500 or plus 1,800 or something like that. So it's not not a crazy play to make a poke on that. But I am predicting Hawes to win a pretty dominant wrestling clinic here and hang tight in the stand-up exchanges, because he's really improving as the fights go on with his hands. And I like him as a prospect. I think he's very good.
Awesome. Great breakdown. Jordan, do you have any insight?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're perfect.
I'm not getting any sound coming through on my mic, but for this fight, I lost my train of thought. I'm like a little flustered right now. 1 second. Just get me for this one. Yeah, I'm going to work on this slow problem.
No big deal. Take your time. We'll come back to you. It's not a big deal. Let us move on to the next fight. When he's back, we will get his thoughts on the Phil Hawes-Chris Curtis fight. Fight number 8. It is Al Iaquinta, 14-6-1, making his comeback after a 2-year layoff, going up against the GOAT, Bobby Green, 27-12-1. I know somebody that likes Bobby Green in this room, so we will let him kick it off. Sean, give us some insight on this fight.
Yeah, so Bobby Green is probably the undisputed champion of the division. If he was able to fight Khabib, he would totally box up Khabib. He would out-wrestle Khabib. And I think that it's a real shame that the judges have deprived us of this fight, because Bobby Green is very skilled at all levels of the fight. He's an amazing talent. He has his own style. He has showmanship. And I've loved watching the guy over the years. Now, the way Bobby fights, though, is he fights on thin margins, right? So Bobby always makes the fight a little more difficult than it needs to be. Now, if you want, you can take the Bobby Green decision at minus 140, but I think it's probably smarter to take either guy by split. But I would lean towards Bobby Green by split decision at plus 450. That's the best I have. I'm sure everybody has better. But I do think that he's going to be able to land that jab at will. I think that Al is mostly a real estate agent at this point, whereas Bobby Green has been incredibly active in giving us exciting fights. So I think that Bobby Green is going to be a little more tuned for this fight, and I think he's going to put on a boxing clinic. But he never really puts people away, and I don't expect him to put Al away. But I do expect Al to keep it close with aggression. So yeah, Bobby Green split decision for me.
Awesome. We'll go to Jordan and get his take on the Hawes-Curtis fight. Jordan, are you familiar with Chris Curtis?
Yeah. I don't know Chris Curtis personally, but I did see him fight in the PFL like around that time period, and I I think that Phil Hawes is going to be too much. I think Phil Hawes has been fighting much higher level competition, in the UFC, and I think he's just going to be sharp. You know what I mean? Like if I compare Imavov and Chris Curtis, I think Imavov's a much more dangerous fight. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go with Phil Hawes for sure.
Awesome take. If you want, go ahead with this fight too. The Iaquinta Bobby Green. Do you have?
Yeah, I like Bobby Green there. Bobby Green doesn't fade. He has great cardio. He's so calm and relaxed. And like he was saying, this is Bobby Green's primary job versus Iaquinta kind of has some other things going on, and I think that's going to show in the fight. I don't think a finish though either though. Decision.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you guys. Like, Bobby Green really impressed me against Fiziev the last fight. The beating he took. I mean, some of those shots that he took, and he came back and had Fiziev holding on for dear life in that third round. I mean, the amount of volume he put up in that fight, we don't normally see that from Bobby Green, right? He's not a high output guy. But what I will say about Bobby Green, and I've noticed this a lot with him, is he's the type of fighter that, he levels himself up when they're better fighters. But then when they're fighters that are, in the mid-tier, he levels himself down, and he constantly fights close fights against everybody. And it's annoying because I know Bobby Green is so much better than all these guys. For instance, Clay Guida, he should completely dominate Clay Guida. But again, a very, very close fight. And, he loses to Thiago Moises. He should not lose to Thiago Moises. He fights close against Alan Patrick, who he should not be fighting close with Alan Patrick because he's so much more skilled than these guys. So for me, Bobby loves to fight. Bobby kind of fights up to his opposition, but also fights down to his opposition, if you know what I'm saying. Like, so, I hopefully, he doesn't do that here, because Iaquinta is a decent fighter. He's good. He's very durable. But I think Bobby Green is just better everywhere. Like, where is Iaquinta going to win this fight, right? Bobby Green can easily box him up. Bobby Green can out-grapple him. I like Bobby Green. I like the split decision, especially because I know Bobby, how he fights. Like, every fight of his is close. So, you're getting plus 450. Why not? Tajik? Or did you go already? You went?
Yeah, no, I mean, plus 450 is great, but plus 1000 is better. So, which is where you would land if you bet Iaquinta by split decision on DraftKings, which is where I'm going. So, yeah. So, if you look on the paper in every single metric, whether it's striking, defense, offense, wrestling, grappling, everywhere, Bobby exceeds him. But then how can you explain him losing to Thiago Moises and Fiziev, right? It's very hard. And the explanation is that he tends to make fights really close. Every fight, whether he wins or loses, if he loses the round, he can still be throwing his hands in the air like he's winning this fight. And it's odd, but I understand. I think he's a great competitor. He's very gifted. But it's very tough to pick him at these odds, and I think by split decision, I don't mind him if you picked him by split decision. That's fine with me. But we're in New York, right? So Al is there. He's a local guy, so yeah, I'm gonna be targeting Al by split decision on DraftKings at plus 1000, which I think is a really interesting bet.
Tajik, how could you bet against the GOAT at the division? I mean, Bobby Green would absolutely wreck Khabib. And you're going to bet Iaquinta over him? Are you kidding me? Bobby Green is the king.
Sean, I mean, with all due respect, there's only one GOAT, and you're looking at him. I joke.
Awesome stuff here. Yeah, I mean, Bobby Green, I just wish if he fights like he fought against Fiziev, I don't think Iaquinta has anything for him. With that being said, we will move on. Fight number 9, it's the middleweight division, 13-4, Anges Michailidis going up against the newcomer, Alex Pereira, 3-1. I will shoot this off to Jordan. These are 185-pounders. Do you know anything about these two?
I mean, I looked into the Alex Pereira guy. I like that he's going to have Glover Teixeira in his corner tomorrow. I think that that's a good look. I hope that his grappling is sharp. I don't know much about his opponent. I see his opponent has 4 submission wins to his credit, and that's scary when we're talking about, a world-class kickboxer. But from what I hear, this Alex Pereira guy has a little bit more of a well-rounded skill set than you would think, and I'm not confident with the bet, but I would like to. I'd like to go with Alex Pereira. I know a lot of people are picking him by knockout. I mean, that's the obvious prop, right? But I'm not quite too sure. What do you guys think?
Man, Jordan is on it, man. He has a lot of insight on this one. Yeah, for me, like in the beginning, I when I first looked at this fight, just on the surface without really taping much, I just liked Alex Pereira to knock Michailidis out, just because of how Michailidis has fought in the UFC, right? Just throwing these wild punches and like, you can't stand with Alex Pereira. Like, he's the much crisper striker. He's way more powerful. But then when I dug a little deeper and I looked at some regional tape on Michailidis, he actually grapples a lot and he takes guys down. And the other thing I looked at is he is a BJJ black belt. Now, is he like one of those high-level guys? Probably not. But, I mean, he has a black belt in BJJ. We know Alex Pereira doesn't really know how to grapple down there. I didn't like what I saw in the one fight where he got subbed. His one loss is by submission. His gas tank is kind of a question mark. I mean, this guy has only 4 MMA fights. Does he have a lot of power? Yes. If it stays standing, he's knocking out Michailidis. I'm almost certain it's going to happen. But if Michailidis gets takedowns, I think he's going to be the much better grappler. And Pereira might be the fish out of water when they're down there. So what I did like for a Lambo play is Michailidis by submission plus 1,400. He has submissions on his ledger, like Jordan said, 4 of them. Pereira, I don't think is a ground guy whatsoever. And if that's the path of victory, and he needs to take him down, I think he's going to have a chance for a submission. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, so I'm going to echo a lot of what you said. I actually have a play on Michailidis money line at plus 200. I put 1.5 units on that, but I also put some on the submission prop at plus 1,000. If you look at Pereira and the way he fights, he's not really a lateral movement fighter. He likes to stand in front of you, or he likes to retreat backwards. And oftentimes in his MMA fights, he ends up along the fence, where Michailidis is going to be the much more powerful guy along the fence. We've seen Michailidis secure takedowns along the fence. The only question mark here would be, well, what about the cardio issue? And like you said here, it's not like Pereira is some marathon runner. The guy has gassed on low-level regional footage against Brazilian dishwashers that he's fighting. And you've got a guy in Michailidis who's basically like a UFC vet at this point, as far as I'm concerned. He's actually fought a few times. He's been in the cage. And I don't know if they make Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts in Greece. Maybe there's a factory there or something. Maybe that's how he got it. But I'm just saying that I do think that there's a difference between the two sports. And when I'm looking for a kickboxing guy to transition, I want them to be more like a Giga Chikadze or an Israel Adesanya, where they take the time to develop their game, and they also have the lateral movement that can get them away from the angles on the takedowns. I don't think that Alex is going to be able to avoid a grappling match here. I think he's going to gas out, and I think Michailidis is going to hit him with an arm triangle. Official prediction. And we're going to make a lot of money.
The other thing I do want to mention is, the third round look against KB Bular, who's not a UFC level fighter at all. It was a really bad look for me in Michailidis. That kind of turned me off with him because, he clearly lost that third round. He got hit a lot in that third round. I want to say he got upwards of 50 significant strikes on him. So, he's also he doesn't also have the best cardio, which is kind of a concern too. But I do think if he gets it to the ground, man, I think there's different levels here, and I'm not saying Michailidis is great, but like I said, I don't think Pereira even knows much grappling at this point. The guy's a career kickboxer. So,
he plays guard too. That's the other thing. He doesn't have really a get-up game from what I saw. He likes to try and grapple with you, and that's going to really play into Michailidis' favor because Pereira, I don't think he has the acumen. So I agree with you.
Tajik, you have a different take here?
Oh, not really. I like Michailidis here. I agree with a lot of what Sean has said. And I'm actually starting to agree with him on the Khabib take. I think he would have given Khabib a really... hold on. He would have given Khabib a very competitive match, and it would have been a close match, and it would have been maybe a split decision either way. So I don't know if I would have bet him against Khabib, but maybe I would have. So I'm starting to kind of maybe, yeah. So, but jokes aside, I like Michailidis here. I like him actually to win by decision. By decision prop is plus 500, and I've been hearing some offshores have been offering at plus 800 even. So I don't know what just Pereira has to offer. I think he would have made improvements, drastic improvements, if he came earlier, into the MMA. But he's 34 years of age right now, and he only fought like 4 times. Michailidis has been, an MMA athlete for over a decade, and so it's tough. It's tough to pick him under this spot. So I don't know how much improvement he can make in the ground game in this short period of time. And so I like Michailidis here. So if he doesn't get stopped, then I think he has a chance. And I like Michailidis here by decision, available at plus 500.
Nice. A lot of us on Michailidis. Jordan's a little on the Pereira side. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting fight. I think whoever wins the battle of, if it gets to the ground, Michailidis will have the edge. And if it stays standing, I think he's pretty much screwed. Fight number 10, we get to the main card. It's a banger. It's Justin Gaethje, 22-3, going up against Michael Chandler, 22-6. You can kick this one off, Tajik.
I don't have much interest, in betting this fight. To be honest with you, Justin by Gaethje by TKO is like a plus 100 or something like this. There's nothing Lambo in here for me in this, so I'm gonna give it a pass. But I'll give my prediction. I think Gaethje takes this one, and the more I think about it, though, I leave it at this. After I say it, I think it may turn out to be like this close fight. Now that I'm thinking about it, because we all kind of used to Gaethje going out there and knocking out Chandler, but I think after 2 fights, Chandler is going to be a little bit more cautious, and I think knowing what's on stake. Gaethje should not be typical self in trying to put Chandler away. So let's play it to a decision. Why not Gaethje by decision? I don't know what Gaethje by decision is, but it would be interesting to take. What do you think, Sean? Like, I'm just curious. Like, Gaethje by decision.
Gaethje by decision plus 500. Sean,
yeah, it's a good line.
What do you have here?
Yeah, so I mostly agree with you, Tajik. I do think that this is a fight that has so much variance to it because it's really going to depend on what kind of a fight Michael Chandler is going to bring. I don't think it has anything to do with Justin Gaethje because we know exactly how he's going to fight. I did cash on Michael Chandler KO1 over Dan Hooker at plus 1,000. So if you are playing the betting game sort of like an investment game, I do think my man Aussie MMA on Twitter, he always talks about this dollar cost averaging into your plays. So technically the Chandler TKO 1 line is plus 1,000. And that is largely his win condition a lot of the times. He does go out there and he throws bombs at people. And Gaethje, despite the fact that he has been training with Whitman, he does have a proclivity to take punches on his face. And Chandler hits really hard. But I do have a little bit of reservations with it because I do think there is a possibility that Chandler tries to wrestle in this match. I do think he is the better wrestler of the two. It might be controversial, to say that, but I do think Michael Chandler's wrestling is very, very, very good. And I do think he could grind out a decision if he wants to, but it's just not the way Michael Chandler fights. So I do expect this to be a stand-up fight where if I had to give a real prediction, I think that Gaethje eventually stops him in rounds 2 or 3. But that's more of a product of the way Chandler fights and not really a product of all the different dynamics of this fight if he chooses to take a different one.
Yeah, so I'm on the opposite end. I can't, I watch Gaethje's fight. I mean, I'm sorry, Chandler's fights. And this guy, I doubt he's going to wrestle, man. He just doesn't do it. He's going to sit there and try to land the bomb in the first round. And if it doesn't work, he's pretty much screwed. And if you're going to stand against a guy like Gaethje, the other thing I want to mention is, the KO1, prop, Gaethje is just so hard to get the guy out of there with one shot, man. You need way more than one shot. We've seen this guy take a lot of punishment. I know Chandler has power, but Gaethje is not Dan Hooker. He has a great chin. He has good recovery. Guys, very, just the leg kicks themselves are going to absolutely chew Chandler's leg apart. The striking, he's the much better striker, the much cleaner striker, the much better chin. I don't even, Chandler's chin is not good and his cardio is not good. With that being said, Gaethje has a lot of second and third round knockouts. I know Michael Chandler is going to come out hard in the first round. Maybe Gaethje kind of takes it easy, but I think he eventually gets him out of there. And whether it be the second or third round, second round, I'm going to go with Gaethje second round plus 600. Chandler's chances of knocking him out with that one shot is not very good. Just because Gaethje has that chin, man. He has that recovery. He has that chin. It's going to take a lot more than one shot to get him out of there. Jordan, what do you think here, sir?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things you guys were saying. I think that I have Justin Gaethje. I was just going with the straight Justin Gaethje bet on that one on the parlay. I think he's a little bit more aggressive, a little bit rougher, a little bit more physical, and I think he takes his shots better. Because I think that he's a little bit fresher when he takes his shots. Like Chandler, he can start to fatigue, and when you're taking shots when you're fatigued, I think it affects you a lot more. I also agree with the opinion that the fight's going to depend on how Chandler fights. If he brings a heavy, he's a very explosive guy. So if he was taking his mindset off of landing an explosive punch and putting that into landing an explosive takedown, maybe he lands something early as far as like an explosive takedown. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, good take. The one other thing I will say is I think he knows he has a gas problem. And if he's going to wrestle heavy, he knows he's going to gas out. The other thing with Gaethje is, he's not going to just lay there. So he's going to make you work. And I just don't see Chandler wrestling here, man. Like, if he does, I think he's going to gas out even more. And, I don't know. We'll see. I like Gaethje a lot here. I think even minus 210 is value on him here, to be honest. And I have a bet on him.
One thing, and I agree with you because I am mostly on the Gaethje side, but I will say if you tape Chandler, he's pretty damn good at catching leg kicks. I know we're dealing with Gaethje leg kicks, but Chandler has this really he kind of stands low and he tries to lunge at you, and there's something about it where he's really good at just picking the ankle when you try and kick him. And it creates these really crazy scrambles where Chandler generally is going to win that because he's a really ferocious grappler. He even has some submission ability. And it's not like Gaethje is some cardio queen. I mean, the guy basically fights with his feet in the mud, but he just has pretty good technique, right? He's got that leg kick that he can constantly rely on, but he has lost attrition battles in the past. It's just, I don't think that Michael Chandler can give him that. So yeah, mostly a pass for me.
Yeah. And that's the problem, the attrition fight, right? Chandler's not that guy, man. I think he breaks more than anybody does. And Gaethje doesn't break, dude. If there's one thing with this guy, he's extremely tough. He doesn't break. I think Chandler breaks. I think Chandler, when he doesn't get it early or his way, he's kind of screwed. And in this fight, it's a bad matchup for him. I just think this is a good matchup for Justin Gaethje. That being said, we will move on. Fight number 11. It is 13-3 Shane Burgos going up against the 16-3 Billy Quarantillo. I don't know what happened to Jordan. Maybe he had some problems. We will let Sean kick this one off. Sean, what do you got here?
Yeah, so this is a pretty fun fight. I am kind of inclined to believe that Burgos is just the better fighter. I know he has some chin issues. That last knockout was pretty bad. He has been hurt in several fights, and it's really a product of the game he likes to play. I do think if you're playing the odds here, and we're talking from a money line standpoint, I think that there's probably value on the Billy Q line. As far as props and trying to hit Lambos here, I just think that the fight is going to be really close, really frenetic, really striking heavy. So I just don't really have a good feel for it. So that's why I don't have a play on this fight. I do think that Burgos, though, I do think he has the sharper hands. I just wish he would let him go a little more. He kind of just stands in front of his opponents sometimes. But I do think if he strung together more than two, more than three, he could really blast some of these guys out of there. We saw in the Tucker fight, and also even a little bit in the fight where he fought that Canadian guy, Nelson. If you just wait for Billy Q to crash the pocket, he really crashes with no regard for what's coming back to him. And somebody who is technical and is able to choose their shots can really capitalize on this guy's lack of technical proficiency. That being said, Billy Q is an improving fighter. He is training his hands with Antonio Tarver, which has got to be a good sign. So I do think that Billy Q is trending up, whereas Shane Burgos is kind of trending maybe sideways, if not a little bit down at this point. But it's a stay away fight for me, but I favor Burgos.
So do you have a Lambo play? That's the question.
I said no Lambos to be made for me on this one. I have too many Lambos at this point. I'm not going to make one on this.
Awesome. So I'll give you one. Billy Q, round 3, plus 2,000. And this is honestly just a complete fade of Burgos at this point. I think he's coming back too soon. One. I'm not even going to talk about the last knockout because we all know, it was a really, really bad look. The way, the delayed reaction. He's been knocked down 5 times in his last 6 fights. Kurt Hulabau knocked him down. Everybody says Billy Q doesn't hit hard. He took out Gabriel Benitez. Gabriel Benitez, very durable. The other thing I want to say is when you had a delayed reaction the way he did and the beating that Shane Burgos has taken of late, okay, the one thing that you don't want, and this is just coming from a boxing background that I have, you don't want to face a lot of punches. They don't just have to be hard. You just don't want to eat a lot of punches to the head at this point because for whatever reason, your brain is all shook up already, and eating a lot of punches, which is what Billy Quarantillo does, is not a good recipe for your head, for your brain. And I just think he's coming back too soon. He's facing a guy that throws a ton of fucking punches. And eventually, I think it might wear on him. And come round 3, and both of his losses late, the knockout losses were both in the 3rd round, albeit better punchers and better strikers than Billy Quarantillo. But I think it's going to catch up to him here. And Billy puts on a great pace. Billy has good cardio, unlike the opponents that, he kind of wore down in Amir Khani and these guys. This guy has very good cardio. He's going to keep coming. It's going to be a crash. I don't like the fact that he, pops in there with, even his head up at sometimes, right? He keeps his head up, which I don't like, and Burgos hits hard. But man, the durability here is a huge concern for me. And I think, the volume is eventually going to catch up to Burgos here. Tajik, what do you got?
I don't have problem with Burgos's output. I think he actually has his striking output is the highest in his division. So he throws a lot, but he also absorbs a lot. And I don't necessarily favor that, especially in his recent fight. It showed that it's not the best decision. I just don't think he likes to get in those fights, where it's just kind of this drive and the people just punch each other and there's no regard for any kind of defense. That's the problem. And I think for Billy Q, he just has more ways to win this fight. I think standing up, we are noticing that it's getting closer, right? Billy Q is making some improvements and he has shown it in his last fight. So in terms, his striking is improving. Whereas what we're seeing with Shane Burgos is that he has probably kept his, striking capacity, and he's good at that, right? We said this, his output is good. It's the defense side of it that is worrisome, and that recent knockout that he took was really problematic right now. So we don't even know what Burgos is going to show up, after this such a big KO. So having said that, I think it's going to go to a decision, and I actually like Billy Q by decision here, and so that's my that would be the bet that I would be interested in. And Billy Q by decision is available at plus 350 on DraftKings.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm very close to betting Billy here. I don't know yet. I think I'm going to bet him come before fight time. I just think Burgos is, man, he came back too soon. That's the one thing I will say for sure. You don't come back from something like that. You should take your time and worry about your health. With that being said, we will move on. Fight number 12. I think Jordan Young is gone. I don't know if his phone died or what the deal was, but he's probably gone for the night. Fight number 12, a fight that I have a lot of plays on. 24-9-1 Frankie Edgar going up against 19-7-1 Marlon Vera. I can kick this one off. So I don't really have a Lambo play. It's Edgar by decision. I bet it at plus 260. But I will say, I think this is a good matchup for Edgar, man. He's the better grappler. He has a very good gas tank. I think he gets to take Vera down. I think, people are saying he's 40, he's shot, he's this, that, his chin is gone. Okay, then let's go back, 1 year ago, not that long. I mean, he's still 39 at 1 year ago. He fought Munoz in a 5-round hellacious fight where he won. And I will say Munoz hits much harder than Marlon Vera does. So, to say that his chin is gone because he got kneed by, Corey Sanhagen, who's the probably the best freaking flying knee guy in the history of the UFC, catches him flush on the chin. It doesn't matter what your age is. You're going to go out when you get caught like that. So, of course, he's getting up there in age. But I also think, like I said, a year ago, he looked good against Munoz. And he won that fight against Munoz, and it was 5 rounds. And I think Munoz is much more dangerous than Marlon Vera is. So, laying the chalk with Marlon Vera in this fight is bad. I think, some of our buddies like John, Stargarian, MMA Fox said it, you got to be fucking crazy to lay chalk here in a fight that favors Edgar, in every asset other than, maybe attrition, right? Maybe, he has that attrition in him, Vera, where he stops people late in the fight, but he stops them because they gas, or he stops them. I don't think Edgar's going to gas here. So, I'm all over the fight goes to decision. I'm all over, Edgar by decision, Edgar straight up at plus money. If I do have a hedge, and my hedge is Vera round 3 plus 1,200, just because I have so much laying on Edgar. And I think if he is to stop Edgar, it might be late. What do you have, Sean?
Yeah, so I'm going to pretty much echo exactly what you said. I have the decision prop. I can only get plus 220. I took that. I took the money line. I think that Marlon has shown that he can be grappled in several fights, and Edgar is probably going to be the best grappler that he has faced. Really the only thing that Marlon has going for him here is that he's fighting a 40-year-old. But it's not just any 40-year-old. It's Frankie fucking Edgar. So I personally think that Edgar's going to make this look relatively easy. it's probably going to be a 30-27 decision if he constantly gets the back of Marlon, which it seems like Marlon is perfectly fine with giving up his back. I think that Edgar could ride him out along the cage. He can really choose to do what he wants to on the mat. I mean, Marlon's been flattened out on the mat by much, 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 much worse grapplers than Frankie Edgar. So yeah, I agree with John Stargarian here. I think you're missing the story here if you're really thinking that Marlon is a great juice play. But I'm curious to see what Tajik has to say here.
Yeah, the other thing I want to say, one more thing. Just look at the guys Edgar has faced in his recent run, man. It's been a fucking murderous role for him. And now he gets to face Marlon Vera. Huge step up for Vera. Huge step down for Frankie Edgar.
Massive.
Yeah.
Massive. It's like 10 years ago he fought a guy like Marlon Vera.
Tajik the GOAT. I know Tajik he's got to have some crazy take on this fight. We're just waiting for it.
I really don't. I think Vera takes this one comfortably, to be honest with you. We spoke with, was John Stargarian. I think I rendered my opinion that maybe instead of donating Edgar, he should donate, making the Edgar bet, he should donate to the, charity of his choice. And if he's open, if he's looking into this broadcast, I'm gonna encourage him again to make this to make a donation, maybe take that back, cash it out, until he has a chance. But the more I think about it, actually, I understand. I understand why people. Dan Goldstein is so funny in the comment section. It's hilarious. So I understand why people are betting Edgar here. He's fighting at home, he's a legend, but his path to victory is very narrow, just for the fact that his grappling efficiency has not improved even going down the weight class. It has not been up to a level where he can offer any kind of meaningful grappling or wrestling offense towards Vera, in my opinion, right? I guess we'll find out on the fight day. But I do believe we're gonna see some good output from Vera, some good wrestling defense, and I think maybe even towards the late, I could see if Vera pushes the pace that he could take him out somewhere towards the third round by TKO. I would be interested in looking what the props are for that. But I think he will give him his due respect. He's not going to finish him, and he's just going to go for a decision. And I'm going to take Marlon Vera by decision, and I think it's like plus 180 or something, and somewhere it's plus 190. So if it goes to plus 200, I would be interested.
Listen,
actually.
That's a Volkswagen Beetle. That's not a Lambo play here.
Okay, then I'm going to go
not
with
a Volkswagen Beetle. That's throwing money down the toilet.
That too.
Let me take then my bet is gonna be, I'm actually gonna try this. I'm gonna go with Vera by TKO in round 3. And what's the take on that? I'm curious.
Well, round 3 is plus 1200. I do have a sprinkle on it just because I hedged some of my Edgar action because I have a lot of it.
Okay, that's I like it too, actually. So Edgar by TKO, Vera by TKO round 3 is viable probably in this case.
Yeah, even though that comes through, I think I still prefer the Edgar side because I think I win a little more money if Edgar comes through for me. With that being said, first off, I just want to thank everybody in chat. There was 44 of us in chat. Thank you very, very much to each and every one of you for tuning in to the Lambo Place podcast. And I also want to thank both my guests here, along with Jordan Young, who probably, most likely his phone died, is what I'm assuming, because it just completely cut off. With that being said, we will move on. Co-main event, Rose Namajunas, 10-4, going up against Weili Zhang, 21-2. It's the rematch. The GOAT, it's your turn. Tell us something we don't know.
I like Weili here. I did not put any stock into the fact that she got KO'd in that first match. It didn't tell me much. It only told me what I knew already, which is Rose has a devastating power, and she has a knockdown in nearly every fight. She's like 0.94 knockdowns per fight, which is great. But I think we're gonna see a more complete Weili this time around, and especially if she's been working her wrestling and the fight ready. So we're gonna see a more composed Weili, and the more diverse Weili. I think it's gonna be an interesting matchup. I think it's gonna be close. But I just in generally like the offense that I'm seeing out of Weili, and I think she was actually winning the fight versus Rose before Rose launched that head kick. Um, I think she's also mentally stronger, just in general, and down the stretch she's gonna have a better cardio. So this is why I like Weili, and I like Weili by submission. By submission, of course. I like Weili. That's probably 10 plus 10,000. I like Weili by decision here. Actually, that's is pretty interesting for me. Weili by decision is. I forgot what the odds were, but
Weili by decision is we're looking at plus 270, anywhere from 250 to 270.
that's not bad at all. That's it's not exactly the Lambo, but it's pretty close up there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, yeah, if I'm to pick a side, I think I would probably lean Weili-Zhang. Honestly, if you played Weili-Zhang last time at minus 235, I think at closing odds, she closed at minus 235, and now you're getting her at minus 120. Why are you not playing her? I mean, to me, last fight absolutely meant nothing because catching a head kick early on does not show you anything about the two fighters and what happens in a longer fight. So with that being said, if you played Weili-Zhang last time with the juice at minus 230, then you got a better opportunity now to play her at minus 120. But I will say is Rose's striking is better. Rose is the longer fighter. But I think, if this fight drags on, I think it favors Weili-Zhang. I do have a bet that this fight goes to decision plus 116 because I do believe it gets there. I don't think any one of these girls is getting stopped. But I will have to give a Lambo play, and my Lambo play will be Rose Namajunas by submission plus 650. I think she's the better submission grappler. I think Weili-Zhang will implement takedowns now, and it will give Rose some opportunities to get a submission. The one thing I will say, Rose off her back is not the best, but I still think she's the better submission grappler here, and she's going to have opportunities to get or actually attempt those submissions. So getting a number like plus 650, I don't mind at all, but I do like Weili-Zhang overall to win this fight. Sean, anything different here?
I don't really have a great feel for the fight. I think if I had to pick a side, I would pick Weili, and it purely has to deal with the fact that I just think that she, even though she was knocked out in her last fight, I do think that she is the tougher of the two fighters. I mean, catching a head kick, like you guys said, doesn't really tell us anything. Kind of to Tajik's point, I'm not actually sure where her head is at. She made some pretty weird comments about being booed, and I kind of wonder where her mental game is at. But I do struggle to ever bet against somebody who is training at a fight ready. I don't know what they have going on over there. I don't know if it's pharmaceuticals. I don't know if it's Triple C, just the energy. Now that he's not a virgin anymore and he's just transmitting all of this energy onto his people. But man, that camp is absolutely on fire right now. And I think if we're talking about Lambo plays, well, let's talk about Weili later in the fight. Rose does tend to fade in fights. Weili is a very strong and durable person, and I think there is a possibility that she TKOs Rose late in the fight. It's going to really depend on the type of damage that Rose sustains, and also if Weili can just keep Rose moving on her bike the whole time. because Rose really just gasses herself out. She has a lot of wasted movement, in my opinion. And also, she doesn't necessarily have the biggest mental fortitude. When the fight gets really tough, she tends to kind of give in. So you can get Weili by TKO round 4 at plus 2,200. And you can get Weili by TKO in round 5 at plus 2,500. I don't hate those plays at all. I think that they're going to be very live if Weili is able to deal with a much, much better striker in the first couple rounds. But I know there's going to be a lot of people in MSG booing her. My man Ozzy, he said on the podcast, he's going to be personally booing her. He's going to try and start a boo orchestra, he said, at MSG. So that's definitely live because Ozzy's got some pull in the Northeast. So who knows how many people are going to be bowling.
Yeah. I probably going to, now that you mentioned it, I like it. I'm probably going to play those. I think you can get them if you have William Hill. It's very, very good. Weili round 4, just not KO, is 2,500, and round 5 is 3,300. So
that's insane.
Yeah. With that being said, if you have William Hill, it's a much better price. I think it's the same price on Unibet. If you have that, I don't know who has that. I don't have it. But if you take it straight up on FanDuel, it's 2,100 round 4 and 2,600 round 5. You don't have to take the KO prop. And because, the odds are so close between KO and just a round, I don't even want to mess with the, with the 100 difference and have some kind of club and sub. And I would be so mad, so you don't want to mess around like that. But if it's much different, then yes. But yeah, good plays. I actually like them. I'm actually going to play the round 4, round 5 prop once we get off this thing, because I do think she has the better cardio. And I do think Rose fades down the stretch. Moving on, the main event of the night. It is the 19-1 Kamaru Usman going up against the 16-2 Colby Covington that everybody hates. A lot of people, I will say one thing right now. A lot of people, amongst the MMA community are betting with their hearts and not their head in this fight. I will tell you that right off the bat. I've seen too many takes that, are angry takes. Basically, they're angry at Colby Covington, so they're betting Kamaru Usman. Guys, please bet with your head, not with your hearts when it comes to these fighters, because, it's just not good to bet with your heart. It's like betting in the NFL or something, betting your favorite team. That's not a good way to bet. With that being said, I will let the GOAT kick this one off. GOAT, I know for sure in this 5-round main event, you have something crazy. What do you got cooking?
Strangely enough, when I was looking in this card, right, and I was making my, predictions, my picks, I ended up having 11 fights going to a decision, which is probably going to be the most. I'm not. It's crazy for me how I did come up to this, but this is another fight that I see going to a decision. Actually, when I watched the first fight, I had Colby winning 3 rounds to 1, and going into the 5th, I thought Kamaru probably needed the finish, and so it was at least like 2-2, but I had Colby up. So I just think that Kamaru mentally is in a different space right now than Colby. I think he's in his head, and the way I see it is because when you ask Kamaru just in general, how does he feel about Colby? He there's no grudge anymore. He says that he's a great fighter. He's one of the top fighters, and I'm willing to test myself against him. He pushed him, shoved him just to get under his skin. I think it was pretty smart the way he did it. And Colby reacted. He reacted with a lot of animosity. Now, I'm not a body language expert or psychologist, so don't take my word for it. But I think Kamaru is well prepared, and I think his CVS pharmacy works well, so he looks in a great shape. It's interesting, I think Kamaru can finish him, but I see it going to a decision. Going to a decision, Kamaru by decision is plus 200. But I would be interested in betting maybe Kamaru, either in the third or the fourth round by TKO. Probably I would choose fourth, and Kamaru by TKO in the fourth round is plus 1200 on FanDuel. Actually, you have even some bigger bets there. So yeah, that's what I'm going to take. Kamaru by TKO in the round 4, and that's going to be my Lambo prediction versus the actual prediction where I predicted Kamaru to win by decision.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the line, I just want to bet Colby. I want it to go up a little more. I think it might. Right before fight time, I think it might hit like the, almost 300 range, because I think a lot of people are going to be piling on parlays with Usman. And I think if it gets to like 280, 290, 300, I'm going to bet Colby Covington. I guess I'm not going to say that Usman's striking has not gotten better. It has. But now all of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, he's got like this crazy great strike. I don't think so. He doesn't have like this unbelievable striking all of a sudden. Does he have a very good jab? Yes. Is he heavy-handed? Yes. Does he have great striking? No. He's still very defensively flawed, if you ask me. And the other thing I will say is, going back to look at the first fight, I don't know how no one thinks that Colby buzzed this guy 2 or 3 times in that fight. I mean, whether he was rocked really bad, maybe not rocked real bad, but he buzzed him. And I know he buzzed him a couple of times in that fight. And I'm not saying Colby's a big hitter, but he has a lot of volume. I think leg kicks are going to be key in this fight. I think he needs to use a lot of leg kicks. Again, I'm not going to say, Usman's some great striker all of a sudden. He's not. He's got a lot of power. He's got a very good jab. And I think that's the equalizer, right? I think his jab is the equalizer. It just so heavy, man. It stuns people, and that's when his right hand comes over the top, right? So when you get stunned with a jab and you got heavy hands, you don't even probably see that right hand coming. And the way he knocked out Masvidal, yeah, it looked really good. But 2 fights ago against Burns, he was hurt really bad in the first round, and he wasn't reacting well to punches either from a guy that's probably a 155-pounder. Yeah, Burns hits hard, but he's a 155-pounder, and and he beat Burns there because fucking Burns gassed out really, really bad after trying to get him out of there. I'm not saying he wouldn't have beat him and taken him down, but Burns was completely gassed out after trying to knock him out. Like, I don't know if it was an adrenaline dump or what it was, but he was like done. So I just think this fight plays a lot closer than people think, and I think it plays kind of like the first fight. But the only thing is, like, what does Colby do differently that wins him the fight? And that's where I struggle to see, some kind of path that he can change the dynamics of this fight compared to the last fight, right? So I think the power, the jab, those kind of things are all going to be working for Usman. And, Usman round 4 plus 1,600, I will give that as my Lambo parlay. But I wouldn't be shocked at all if Colby Covington won this fight. And, Colby Covington by decision is 450. I just don't have a real strong take just because of this line. Like, I think this line is way off. Sean, tell us if you have something else that we're not seeing here.
I mean, it's pretty similar to what you're saying. So I do think that Kobe should be probably lined more at like plus 175, plus 150. So I did take a little bit of action on the Kobe money line already. And like you, I'm just kind of waiting for the line to come in and see if I want to take more. I do think that Usman has better power, better attritional work. And he is one of these Whitman projects, kind of like George St. Pierre, where they've really honed in on keeping the jab, keeping that shoulder up really tight to your head. But when it goes beyond that jab, I mean, he is pretty defensively flawed, like you said. I think the fight will be closer than people are expecting, as much as it pains me to say, because I don't like Colby Covington's shtick. I don't think he's funny. I think he's basically the worst version that Chael Sonnen brought to this sport. But I think that calf kicks are very live. Usman, yeah, it's funny. That guy just said that. Usman has chicken legs. He has bad knees. And where did Colby go? He went to MMA Masters, which has built their entire career around building calf kickers. So I think if Colby does mix in a few calf kicks, he can take away some of the sting on those punches down the stretch. So that way, when they are in these prolonged exchanges down the stretch, Colby isn't taking as much damage. I think the Lambo play for me here, if I was going to play something, which I'm probably not going to play this. So, but if I had to play a Lambo play, I would play Colby by split at best I could probably get is plus 1,000. But I'm sure it's much higher in other books. But I do think that the best bet for this fight is Colby money line. And it's basically a Lambo. You might get plus 300 on fight night, but I took plus 250. I think it's a solid spot, but I hope the guy loses and I lose my money.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this line's been hit really, really hard on Bet Online. It went from 320 just like an hour ago to minus 275. So somebody hammered Colby Covington, and I don't blame them. I mean, this, like Sean said, minus, 190, 200, for Usman, fine. 320 is kind of ridiculous if you ask me, based on what you saw in the first fight. And again, people are just basing this stupid narrative that all of a sudden Usman's like some great striker, because he's not. I don't think he is. He's solid. He's improving with Trevor Whitman, but it takes a lot more than 2 camps or 3 camps for you to become like some elite striker all of a sudden. So, it's going to be a close fight. I'm very interested in this fight. I'm probably going to just sit back and watch, but if this line moves up for Colby Covington, I will play him. I think he's the actual side. I don't see how you can lay minus 320 and minus 50 on Usman. Tajik, you got anything further you want to say?
No, that's it. I think it's going to be close. I just, like I said, I think they're a little bit different in a different state, I think, mentally. And so, but it's very narrative based, right? Like I'm just taking it off of some random interviews and stuff like that. So don't take my word for it. But I think Kamaru improved to a point that he can beat Colby, maybe more decisively this time around. It's just that it still doesn't warrant such a wide odds. I think they are wide, and I understand if you're betting Colby. I absolutely understand why you're doing that. I'm just not betting Colby here, and the only way to bet the Kamaru is to make any kind of money on him will be probably those TKO prop or maybe a decision prop. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I would not come close to that, minus 320, 350 on Usman, but it's going to be an interesting fight.
I want to comment on the comment. So somebody said there was a lot of Brian. There was a lot of public money on Colby. I don't think those metrics really matter for MMA. I think that's more of the big market NFL, NBA type of thing. I think in MMA there's so much variance that I don't really think the bookies are fucking around like that. I think the bookies have a better grip on the mathematics of a sport with a ball. But I don't think that they're sitting there going, hey, we really think Colby's going to lose, so let's keep this line here. It doesn't make any sense to me, but maybe one of you guys has some insight into that. But I've just never noticed that to be the case. I cash on plenty of dogs with public side.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't, like you said, it's a very, very small market. I don't remember somebody put a graph up there. I don't remember where I saw it, but I will say is table tennis is bet more on than MMA is. I don't remember where I saw it, but that tells you how small the market is for MMA. It's not a really big market, and
Yeah, Mike, I want to say here is that Brian may have a point if there is a significant increase in the volume of bets with this in this card compared to the other ones. So if we see this significant volume coming in on this fight, and we're seeing this going so extensive, I think then this could be an event where it's an outlier. But in general, I think I also agree with Sean and you that MMA is not at the point where it is bet significantly, and maybe worldwide more so, because I think there are sports out there such as tennis and others where it's just bet more heavily than MMA. So yeah, I would be curious to see if there's a disparity in the volume with this card compared to the previous card, which could probably tell us tell us what the if this argument makes sense. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
So Brian says he completely disagrees and respects what you do, but only on the highest bet fights. I mean, I'm not going to say anything. If you disagree, it's fine. I could see, kind of where you're coming from, but this market, like Sean said, is even in the big fights. Yeah, maybe they're getting a little more betting on these big fights, but it's still nothing compared to these other, sports. And like Sean said, they got a lot more of a gauge on these ball sports than they do. There's too much variance in MMA, with a bunch of different stuff, injuries, I can't even explain how many different things that come into variance when it comes to MMA betting. Sean, you got something to say?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. A haymaker ends the fight, whereas in a sport, one touchdown doesn't end the game. So they've got such a firmer pulse on what's going on with sport ball, and really it boils down to numbers in those sports. So I think on the over-unders, they have a really good gauge in MMA. I think that they also have a pretty good gauge if you have access to handicaps. But money line, I mean, shit, if they have a great gauge, they're fooling me at this point.
Yeah, I mean, how many times? I don't even want to go into it. Dana White Contender Series is a great example of
passion on all of these.
beating lines by 700 or 600.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that consistently this past season with Dana White's Contender Series.
Somebody was literally asking me. They were like, "Oh, well, you could just keep doing this. You could do this as a job if you wanted to." And I was like, "No, literally, the market could mature in 5 years, and it could be totally dead to the point where there's nothing there anymore. It's still way too new." Like you said, table tennis gets way more action, and deservedly so, because it's as real as it gets. Table tennis is the greatest sport ever invented by man. So there's no wonder why so many people are betting on it. But yeah, maybe Brian has some insight. I know there's a lot of people on Twitter that I've talked to that have a lot of industry insight, and I do learn things along the way. It's not really my wheelhouse, but hey, check it out. Look at that. It's not my wheelhouse, but if Brian wants to shoot me a DM and explain it, I'm at Sean Orr.
Yeah, I mean, Sean is as good as it gets when it comes to capping MMA. Guys, give this guy a follow. He's great. With that being said, we want to end it. It's an hour and 38 minutes. We kind of went long. I want to thank Sean Orr. I want to thank the GOAT Tajik Bey. I also want to thank Jordan Young. He couldn't stay for the rest of it. I don't know. Again, I'm not sure, but he was here. He was actually giving some very, very good insight. I appreciate it. And Sean, I will kick this off to you. Tell them where they can find you. If you want to plug anything, you are more than welcome to.
Yeah, so you can find me at Sean Orr on Twitter. And then also I have an article up on sharpmma.com, which is my website. That's going to show my best bets for this card. We've won the last 4 out of 5 and profited handsomely. And I also want to plug Tajik's Body Butters company. He sells body butters. He homebrews them himself out of his house. So definitely look into that and get them. They're very soothing. I've been using them lately. A lot of good energy.
Now,
What is he talking about?
now, if Uncle Wheezy was in the chat, maybe he can use those body butters for shaving asses. Like he does.
I don't know what that is, but I think it's a fake news, so I'm gonna completely disregard what Sean has said.
All right. With that being said, again, follow this guy, Sean Orr, on Twitter. Great guy. Go look at his articles. The guy's real sharp, and everything is for free. Correct, Sean?
Yep. It's for free.
Hey, what else can you? I mean, you guys getting bets from a sharp guy, absolutely free. Articles written up. I mean, what else do you guys want? What I can give you is some of the GOAT. GOAT, tell them where they can find you and what you got going on.
I don't have much going on. You can find me on Twitter at Tajik Bey. As always, if you want to DM me, shoot me a message. I'm always here. I love joining these pods with you, Mike, with Sean, with Liam. I think, I think I will be tomorrow on Brady's podcast and DFS by the numbers before the event. Absolutely. And if you want, as always, if you want to support the community, do what Narco Copes did, and get that T-shirt. So the link is in the description and my profile, so you can always buy that. If you cannot afford it, just DM me, and I'll be sharing all of my picks with you. I'm always here for you guys. So yeah, cheers.
Thanks a lot, Tajik. Thank you for being here. This guy's a staple of the Lambo Plays podcast. As you can see, he loves his crazy Lambo bets. With that being said, I want to thank everybody that's in chat. There's still 35 of you here. Thank you very, very much for being here. Thank you for supporting this channel. If you can, please like and please subscribe to my channel. It helps out. I do have a new logo. I don't know if you guys saw it. I will be coming out with a little bit of merchandise for it. I don't know yet which way I'm going to go, but I am going to come out with some stuff, and I will post it on Twitter when I do, and probably post the website. Again, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Tajik, very much. I can't wait for tomorrow. Let's cash our bets. Again, good night.